What's going on, guys? It is Aiden Hutchinson.
What's up, man? It's your boy Amon-Ra St. Brown.
What's up, everybody? It's Calvin Johnson Jr. here, a.k.a. Megatron, a.k.a. First Ballot.
What's going on, Coach Dan at Lions Talk Live and the Do Crew? This is Ball Hawk Ifata Melifonwu of the Detroit Lions. Everybody make sure you help support the YouTube channel Lions Talk Live by clicking that like and subscribe button. Let's get it and go Detroit.
Greetings and salutations to everyone out there in YouTube land. This is Dan Skipper, offensive weapon for the Detroit Lions. Make sure you all help support Lions Talk Live and Coach Dan by clicking on that like and subscribe button. Everybody, woo!
All right, well, greetings and salutations to everybody out there in YouTube land. I am your host once again, Dan Thornton, and I want to thank you all for joining us here today, Saturday afternoon. Hey, just before 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I wanted to try to start getting back with Lions Talk Live to start doing a little bit more investigative journalism, try to do a few things to try to, give you guys some things to work on or watch that maybe aren't always breaking news. But, hey, we all get it. Detroit Lions, Jared Goff, they're on a historic pace as far as offensively. You're seeing Goff put up numbers that very few quarterbacks have ever even sniffed in the history of the NFL, and yet he seems to be breaking records at just a rate nobody would have guessed. Did you know that coming into tomorrow's game against the Houston Texans, he's already set 8 NFL records this season, and he's on cusp of perhaps set a few others. So I wanted to kind of dive in. What has made Jared Goff all of a sudden click and then all of a sudden become the craziest quarterback you never ever wanted to try to go after if you're the opposing defense? He is completing passes left and right to everybody out there, and getting him just to throw an incomplete pass, we all get it, has been crazy. So we're going to dive into some things, throw a bunch of numbers at you guys, see what you have to say. Let's start off with the fact that Jared Goff is a quarterback you do not want to blitz anymore. If you blitz him, you do so at your own peril, because you've seen team after team after team, including the Minnesota Vikings, blitz and blitz heavily. I want to say the Vikings blitzed them at nearly a 65% of all the defensive snaps they had. They went after him, and Goff just shredded them. So let's start with that. Goff is getting blitzed defensively, and I wanted to find a blitz by any time a defense sends 5 or more guys after him. So throughout all the games so far this year, that is 41% of the time. That is the second highest blitz rate of any quarterback in the NFL, and yet he's doing pretty well against it. King Jared is destroying blitzes by completing 76% of his passes versus blitzes, which is also second in the NFL against blitzes, I should say. Versus the blitz, Goff is also averaging a just jaw-dropping 10.74 yards per completion. That's right. You blitz Goff, it's probably a first down and a yard, which is also second highest in the NFL in that regards as far as yards per completion. King Jared has also fired in 9 of his 14 touchdown passes against, you guessed it, blitzes. And again, I'm defining a blitz as anytime a defense has 5 or more guys after the quarterback. Clearly, this is anybody watched Goff growing up, whether it was in LA or his first couple of seasons in Detroit, understood one of the best ways to stop Goff is to do what? Put pressure on him. He didn't handle it so well. But clearly, this one-time weakness of Goff is now a strength, and a big reason why the Lions are being picked perhaps to be in the Super Bowl this year. And also, Goff is one of the front runners, we'll say the top 3 or 4, as far as front runners for the MVP this year. And could the Lions get the Super Bowl? Right now, I'd have to say if you're an NFC fan or just an NFL fan, it's hard to not see the Lions getting there. Of course, a lot could change between here and there, but a lot of the credit for Detroit's performance this year comes down to Jared Goff. All right, so what has changed with Goff and to make his transformation from a slightly above average quarterback to where you'd have to say this year you have to view him as one of the elites in the NFL? Let that sink in if you're an LA Ram fan. You are looking at Jared Goff being perhaps one of the 2 or 3 best quarterbacks in the entire NFL. No, he's not going to beat anyone, including my mom, in a foot race down the 40-yard line or 100-yard dash. But everything else about being a quarterback, he's doing pretty dang well. So part of the reason why he's now ascended to being an elite quarterback, at least in my opinion, and watching the film, breaking this down, I've been working on this video for a little bit of time. Part of the answer is to come down to the marriage between Goff and the offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions. That's Ben Johnson. They seemingly every year have gotten a little bit better at understanding each other's weaknesses and strengths, and give Ben Johnson a lot of credit. I think he's got a pretty dang good grasp on what Jared Goff's strengths and weaknesses are, and he's honing this offense more and more to be reflective of Goff's strengths. If you watch Lions Talk Live for any bit of time at the start of the season, I talked a lot. You could see how much different this year's offense was from formation standpoint, personnel groupings, than the past few years. And the Lions were having one of the best offenses in each of the past prior years. So to make radical changes, nobody really understood why. Perhaps we're understanding why now. So Ben Johnson built an offense that features to Goff's strengths even more than in prior seasons. As the Lions fans know, one of the Goff's biggest strengths, anybody, if you watch him in LA or Detroit, you understood, Jared Goff is very, very good on play action passes. So Detroit is second in the NFL on all situations, normal plays on offense for running play action pass at 37% of the time. That's right. On 37% of the time, if it's an offensive snap for the Lions, they are going to run play action pass. Now that sounds good, but when blitzed, here's where Goff has really kind of matured and taken things to another level. Goff and Johnson default to play action pass on 55% of any time they're blitzed. So if you're sending 5 or more people after Goff, chances are they're going to counter that with a play action pass to try to freeze some of the people left to help pick up the receivers or backs or tight ends, but also to force that blitz to slightly delay. If you go back and watch the films, you can see where, hey, the defensive line and the second tier, the guys coming in on the blitz, have to stop just for a second and figure out if it is indeed a run or if it is play action pass. That's bought Goff enough time to go through and pick them apart at a historical percent. So we can credit both Johnson and Goff for evolving this combination and their understanding of where to go and how to use that to their advantage. While we continue to dive inside the numbers, in 2024, King Jared is owning opposing defenses by completing, let this sink in here, 82.7% of his passes when the Lions run play action and the opposing team is trying to blitz. So when he does get blitzed, he is shredding them and shredding them consistently. That's why we've seen Goff in the last 2 months completing over 80% of his passes, and now for the season in the high 70s. He is just mauling them. Play action passes, while also on play action pass, when he completes those passes against the blitz, he is completing them for 12.2 yards a catch. So let that get into your head. When they blitz, he runs the play action. He is throwing that ball down the field more often than not, or getting somebody in the isolated underneath one-on-one situation, and that's resulting in over 12 yards per completion on those plays. While also in these situations, running play action versus a blitz, Goff is also having a QBR of over 152. That's not perfect, but it's pretty dang near perfect. This includes the Lions win over Minnesota. We talked about that earlier in this video. Minnesota, we all get it. They want to blitz. They want to get after quarterbacks. They want to try to do everything they can to disrupt your offense. Goff, in that particular game, was blitzed, 64, we'll just say 65% of all defensive snaps on that game. So they were sending the house after him, and as anybody who's watched that game understands, Jared Goff did pretty well against that blitz and the Minnesota Vikings. Based on the video breakdown, it's clear Ben Johnson loves putting Goff into situations where he knows he's going to be advantageously favored. He's going to be able to go through things. So I wanted to now break down what was going on those routes during those play action passes. What was Ben Johnson doing from a schematic standpoint to try to help Jared Goff, King Jared, whatever you want to call him, into favorable situations? So with that being said, on 64.8% of the time, they run play action versus a blitz. Here's what you could find out. You have an outside receiver going on a deep post pattern. Now, you may say, why is that important? Because when you're running up and in, that single high safety who's left to cover up, usually against the blitz, he's forced to go with that person. If that person is Jameson Williams especially, you're probably normally committing 2 people with him. So now if 2 people are committed to him and you're sending, say, 5 or 6 people after the quarterback, how many people are left to cover everybody else? That's where the brilliance of Ben Johnson also comes into play. If you watch the tier formations for the structure of the offense, you have an outside person going up and in, you have a shallow crosser, the other side coming up and over, and then that running back that you just ran play action pass for is either running a wheel route across the offensive line or just a dump off pass over the middle or out in the flats. In essence, what this does is when Jared Goff does his pre-snap read and then post-snap read. So what does that mean? He's going to the line of scrimmage. He's figuring out more than likely who's coming, who's not, who's staying in coverage. Now, when he hikes the ball, he wants to watch the defensive line and right around the defensive line. Who is coming, who's dropping. It's only a half-second window, but this gives Jared Goff a lot of information. So when he turns his back to the offense and defensive line, he knows high probability where it's going to go. Also, that deep crosser, that shallow crosser, and the person under the middle, the running back, are all in an easy line of sight for Jared Goff to quickly dissect and get rid of the ball. So I think it's brilliant work by Ben Johnson. There are another about 15% of the time you could see where they run a different version of it, where they put a fourth receiver into the mix, but that's on a situational basis. But either way, I think we all agree Jared Goff's doing very, very well against when running play action pass against the blitz. Adding into all this now is one other thing that often gets forgotten about when it comes to players, coaches, etc. And that's experience. Jared Goff's now been in the league 9 years. He has slowly grown up and matured, not just as a person, but also as an athlete. He now understands intrinsically more about reading pre and snap post coverages and as far as what defenses can do. And you can see clearly it's making it harder and harder to catch him off guard, to rattle him, to effectively get him out of his sphere of confidence or comfort level. But because of all these factors, Jared Goff might just be the MVP this year, and he may just do something that even Tom Brady didn't want to go anywhere near. That's come to Detroit, lead the Detroit Lions to Super Bowl. It's my prediction right now, when the end of this year happens, Jared Goff will be in the top 3 conversation for the MVP. Will he put up enough stats to necessarily win it? We'll have to wait and see. But if the Lions keep winning out, if they win the North and they are the number 1 or 2 seed, I think it's going to be real hard for most voters to supplant Jared Goff from potentially being the NFL MVP. And that's right, Detroit Lions in the Super Bowl. All right, that's all I got for you guys today on this one. If you have any comments, leave in the comment section. If I have some time, I'll try to get it over to you. But I think we can all also agree, one last thing I'll throw at you. Ben Johnson came into this season wanting to make huge adjustments to the Lions offense. And again, that's why it's so much different this year versus 2022 or 23. Let this sink in. The Lions are running against the blitz, play action pass, 27% of the time more often this year than last year. I had to do a little bit of research on that to figure that one out. But all right, take care. Enjoy the rest of your day. If you can, do something kind for someone you don't know. Be a good human being. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. See you all on the next Lions Talk Live. Take care, everybody. You're still here? What are you doing here? It's over. The show's over. Go home.